The rain hammered the tin roof like 1,000 accusations, each drop a reminder that silence in their house had become louder than any scream. Caden stared at the faded photo on his nightstand. His mother, laughing in a sunlit field, her hand forever reaching out, and wondered if ghosts could feel the chill of abandonment too. When the front door creaked open downstairs, carrying the scent of unfamiliar perfume and the weight of a second chance his father desperately needed, Caden knew the fragile world he had pieced together from ashes was about to shatter. In the dim glow of the porch light, the old Victorian house on Elm Street in Astoria, Oregon, stood like a sentinel against the relentless Pacific Northwest drizzle. Astoria was the kind of coastal town where secrets fermented in the salty air, where fishermen mended nets and baristas at the corner coffee shop knew your order before you spoke. It was home, or what was left of it after the car accident 2 years ago that stole Elena, Caden's mother, and left him and his father, Marcus, adrift in a sea of unspoken grief. Marcus, a broad-shouldered carpenter with calloused hands and eyes that crinkled at the corners from years of squinting into the fog, had thrown himself into work, building custom furniture for the tourists who flocked to the Columbia River waterfront. Caden, at 17, navigated high school with the grace of someone carrying an invisible anchor. Straight A's in English Lit, a part-time gig stocking shelves at the local bookstore, and a heart that fluttered dangerously whenever the new transfer student, Riley, flashed that crooked smile in the hallway. But that night, as the rain softened to a whisper, everything shifted. Marcus had met Lydia at a grief support group in Portland, two widows or near enough, clinging to the edges of loss. Lydia was a transplant from Seattle, a graphic designer in her early 40s with sharp bobbed hair the color of autumn leaves and a laugh that cut through the gloom like a lighthouse beam. She had a daughter, Tessa, 15 and all sharp edges and eye rolls, from a marriage that had dissolved in acrimony. Marcus proposed after 6 months, a quiet affair on the beach at Cannon Beach, and now, with boxes stacked in the living room, Lydia and Tessa were moving in. Caden watched from the top of the stairs, his socked feet silent on the worn oak steps, as his father helped Lydia with her coat, their hands lingering in a way that twisted something deep in Caden's chest. "Dinner's almost ready," Marcus called up, his voice gruff but laced with a hope Caden hadn't heard since before the accident. "Caden, come meet everyone properly." Caden descended slowly, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Lydia turned, her green eyes appraising him with a warmth that felt probing, like she was already cataloging the cracks in their foundation. "You must be Caden. Marcus talks about you nonstop, like you're the second coming of Hemingway with a hammer." She pulled him into a hug that smelled of lavender and city rain, her embrace firm but fleeting. Tessa hovered behind, scrolling her phone, her dyed pink hair a stark contrast to the muted tones of the house. "Nice place," Tessa muttered, not looking up. "Creepy, but nice." The meal was pot roast, Marcus's attempt at normalcy, served on the scarred pine table that had seen better days. Conversation flowed in fits and starts, Lydia sharing stories of Seattle's tech boom, Marcus nodding along with tales of his latest commission for a bed and breakfast in Seaside. Caden picked at his food, his mind wandering to the essay due on The Great Gatsby, the way Gatsby's green light mirrored his own futile reaches across impossible distances. He stole glances at Lydia, wondering if she could see the part of him he kept locked away. The journals filled with poetry about boys who looked like they stepped out of indie films, the late-night scrolls through Grindr that ended in deleted profiles and self-loathing. As plates cleared, Lydia leaned back, her fingers tracing the rim of her wine glass. "This house has such good bones, Marcus, but it could use a woman's touch. Maybe fresh paint in the hallways, some plants to liven things up." Her eyes flicked to Caden. "What do you think, Caden? Ready for a little change?" He shrugged, the word sticking in his throat like damp wool. Change. It was the one constant he despised. After Mom, he'd learned to navigate the quiet routines. Mornings with black coffee and NPR. Evenings with Marcus's old vinyl spinning Dylan on the record player. Now, with Lydia's energy filling the space, it felt like the house was exhaling a breath it had held too long. That first week blurred into a tentative rhythm. Lydia set up her home office in the sunroom, her laptop humming with freelance gigs for boutique brands. Tessa claimed the guest room, posters of K-pop idols papering the walls, her music leaking through the floorboards at odd hours. Caden retreated to his attic bedroom, a a slanted ceiling sanctuary cluttered with dog-eared paperbacks, and a sketchpad where he doodled faces. Ethereal, masculine, untouchable. School was a refuge, the hallways buzzing with the mundane drama of prom committees and varsity tryouts. And then there was Riley. Riley Harlan had arrived mid-semester from Portland, his family chasing a fresh start after his parents' divorce. Tall and lean, with sun-bleached blonde hair that curled at the nape of his neck and a scattering of tattoos peeking from his flannel cuffs. Anchors and compasses, nods to his sailor grandfather. Riley exuded an effortless cool that made Caden's pulse stutter. They met in AP Lit, dissecting Frost's The Road Not Taken, while rain pattered against the classroom windows. "It's all bullshit," Riley had whispered during a group discussion, his blue eyes locking onto Caden's. "We think we're choosing paths, but life's just a series of detours you pretend are profound." Caden had laughed, a real one, the sound surprising him. After class, they lingered by the lockers, Riley's skateboard tucked under his arm. "You skate?" Riley asked, nodding at Caden's scuffed Vans. "Not well, but I fall gracefully." That became their inside joke. Weekends found them at the abandoned pier, boards scraping against weathered planks, the ocean's roar drowning out the awkward silences. Riley talked easily, about his mom's new boyfriend, a tech bro who collected vintage watches, about sneaking into dive bars on the Oregon coast, the thrill of stolen sips of IPA. Caden listened, sharing fragments. The way his mother's laugh used to echo through the house like wind chimes, the hollow ache of Sunday mornings without her pancakes. He didn't mention the dreams that woke him sweating, visions of hands on his skin that weren't his father's rough pats on the back. Lydia noticed the shift in Caden's mood, the way his steps lightened when he grabbed his jacket for study sessions. Over breakfast one morning, as Marcus buttered toast with deliberate strokes, she fixed Caden with a concerned gaze. "You've been out a lot lately. That's great, you're making friends. Just be careful, okay? Small towns have long memories." Caden's fork paused midair, gravy dripping onto his plate. "I'm careful," Marcus chuckled, oblivious. Kids got his head on straight. Let him breathe, LYD. But Lydia's eyes held a shadow, a flicker of something Caden couldn't name. Protectiveness, or perhaps the echo of her own guarded past. That afternoon, while Marcus was at the workshop and Caden at school, Lydia climbed the attic stairs with a small toolkit and a discreet black box. She had seen the signs. The lingering hugs with male friends and old photos she'd found while unpacking. The poetry book on his desk with underlined passages about forbidden desires. In Seattle, she'd volunteered at a youth center for LGBTQ kids, knew the statistics, the isolation, the risks. But here, in Astoria's conservative undercurrents, where the local diner still whispered about the that-way crowd, she couldn't risk it. Not without knowing for sure. The nanny cam, ordered online under the guise of home security, slipped easily behind the framed photo of Elena on Caden's dresser. Its lens peered out like a watchful eye, capturing the ordinary. Caden sprawled on his bed, earbuds in, scribbling furiously, the way his face softened when his phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Evenings deepened the undercurrents. Family dinners turned into minefields of politeness, Tessa's sarcasm a buffer against the adult's tentative affection. One night, as fog rolled in from the river, Lydia suggested a board game. Monopoly, of all things, to bond. Caden drew the top hat, Riley's face flashing in his mind as he rolled the dice. Laughter bubbled up unexpectedly when Tessa bankrupted Marcus with a hotel on Boardwalk, but it died when Lydia's hand brushed Caden's while passing the banker tray. Her touch was light, maternal, yet it sent a jolt through him, not revulsion, but a wariness born of too many therapy sessions post-accident, where counselors had probed the boundaries of his grief. "You're a quiet one, Caden," Lydia said later, as they washed dishes side by side, the clink of porcelain a rhythmic underscore. "But I see you, the way you carry things. Your mom. She sounds like she was your anchor." Caden scrubbed a plate harder than necessary, suds foaming over the sink's edge. "She was. Still is, in a way." Lydia nodded, drying a glass with slow circles. "Loss like that, it rewires you, makes you build walls higher than you need. But walls keep out the good stuff too." He glanced at her reflection in the window, the fog blurring the world outside. For a moment, he wanted to spill it all, the confusion of wanting Riley's hand in his under the pier's shadow, the fear that Marcus would look at him with the same distant pity he reserved for broken tools. But the words lodged, and instead he muttered, "Yeah, walls are safe." As October's chill seeped into the bones of the house, Caden and Riley's friendship edged toward something electric. It started with a shared joint behind the bowling alley, the smoke curling like secrets into the night air. Riley's knee pressed against Caden's, accidental at first, then deliberate. "You ever feel like you're waiting for permission to exist?" Riley asked, exhaling toward the stars. "All the time," Caden replied, his voice barely above the distant crash of waves. Their first kiss happened on a Saturday, rain-slick streets empty save for the neon glow of the Clatsop County Fair's distant Ferris wheel. They had ditched a bonfire party, wandering to the edge of town where the forest met the cliffs. Riley's lips were soft, tasting of spearmint gum and salt, his hands tentative on Caden's waist. It was clumsy, urgent. A collision of pent-up longing that left them breathless against a moss-covered log. "I've wanted this since that first frost discussion," Riley confessed, forehead pressed to Caden's. "Me too." The admission freed something in Caden, a bird long caged. They spent the next weeks stealing moments. Notes passed in class, hikes along the Lewis and Clark Trail where fingers intertwined unseen, late-night drives in Riley's beat-up Subaru to the beach, where they lay on hoods watching bioluminescent waves glow like underwater fireflies. But home was a tightening noose. Lydia's questions grew pointed. "Who's this Riley? He seems nice," delivered with a smile that didn't warm her eyes. Marcus, buried in a rush order for holiday cabinets, missed the tension. His evenings spent in the garage with sawdust and solitude. Caden took to locking his door, the camera's presence an itch he couldn't scratch, though he hadn't noticed it yet. One evening, after a particularly heated make-out session in Riley's car parked behind the bookstore, Caden returned flushed and disheveled. He climbed the attic stairs, shedding his jacket, unaware of the lens capturing every unzip of his hoodie, every secret smile as he texted Riley a heart emoji. In the kitchen, Lydia sipped tea, her laptop open to the feed. Grainy but clear, Caden's reflection in the mirror showing a boy alight with discovery. Her hand trembled on the mouse. She had installed it for safety, she told herself, to protect him from the town's underbelly. But as the footage played, looping the tender vulnerability in his eyes, guilt coiled in her gut like fog. What now? Tell Marcus? Confront Caden? Or let the camera keep watching? A silent guardian turned voyeur? The revelation came on a crisp November morning, the kind where frost etched patterns on car windows like fragile lace. Caden woke to the sound of voices downstairs. Low, urgent, laced with the edge of confrontation. He patted down in his boxers and t-shirt, the house cold against his skin. In the living room, Marcus stood with arms crossed, Lydia before him, her tablet clutched like a shield. Tessa lurked in the doorway, wide-eyed. "What's going on?" Caden's voice cracked, the room's chill seeping into his bones. Marcus turned, his face a mask of confusion hardening into something raw. "Caden, Lydia showed me something. From your room." The words hung, heavy as the rain clouds gathering outside. Lydia stepped forward, her voice soft but unyielding. "I put up a camera. For security. I saw you with that boy, Riley, kissing." The world tilted. Caden's knees buckled, but he caught himself on the banister, heat flooding his face. Not shame, but fury. "You spied on me? In my own room." "It wasn't like that," Lydia pleaded, eyes glistening. "I was worried. After what I saw in your journal, the poems, the drawings. This town is not kind to kids like you. I wanted to protect you." "Protect me?" Caden's laugh was bitter, echoing off the walls. "By invading my privacy? By treating me like some criminal?" Marcus rubbed his jaw, the stubble rasping under his palm. "Son, why didn't you tell me? I'm your father. I could've." "Could've what?" Looked at me different, like Mom did when she found out about my first crush on a boy in middle school. The memory surged, unbidden. Elena's gentle talk by the fireplace, her hand on his knee, affirming him in a world that rarely did. "You were too busy grieving to notice anything." The accusation landed like a punch. Marcus flinched, his broad frame seeming to shrink. "That's not fair, Caden. I've been trying. With Lydia, with all this, it's for us. For family." Family? Caden spat the word, tears burning hot tracks down his cheeks. He grabbed his jacket from the hook, the door slamming behind him like a final punctuation. The cold air hit him like a slap, but he ran anyway, toward the only place that felt safe, the pier where Riley waited, oblivious. Word spread in Astoria like mist off the river, whispers in the grocery line, sidelong glances at the pump. Tessa, torn between loyalty to her mother and a budding empathy for Caden, confronted Lydia that afternoon. You outed him, Mom, to everyone. How's that protection? Lydia paced the kitchen, the tablet dark now, its secrets spilled. I thought Marcus could help, bridge the gap, but he just froze, like he didn't know his own son. Upstairs, Marcus sat on the edge of Caden's bed, the camera dismantled on the dresser, its lens staring blankly. He picked up the photo of Elena, tracing her smile. How had he missed it? The signs, the way Caden's eyes lingered on certain classmates, the quiet intensity of his readings. Grief had blinded him, turned inward until the world narrowed to work and whiskey. Now, with Lydia's well-intentioned betrayal laid bare, he saw the chasm, a sun adrift, reaching for connection in shadows. Caden found Riley at the skate park, grinding rails under the gray sky. Hey, stranger, Riley called, but his grin faded at Caden's ashen face. They sat on the bleachers, Caden spilling the story in halting bursts, the camera, the confrontation, the raw exposure. Riley listened, his hand finding Caden's, thumb stroking knuckles in silent solidarity. That's fucked up, Riley said finally, voice low. But you're not alone. My uncle's gay, came out in the 80s, got disowned. Now he runs a bar in Portland, prouder than hell. You deserve that too. Caden leaned into him, the warmth a lifeline. What if Dad can't handle it? What if this breaks us for good? Then we rebuild. You, me, whatever it takes. That night, Caden didn't come home. He crashed at Riley's, the Harlan basement, a cozy chaos of band posters and laundry piles. Riley's mom, a no-nonsense nurse with tattoos of her own, offered pancakes and a knowing nod. Boys will be boys. Just text your dad you're safe. Curled on the futon, Riley's arm around him, Caden felt the first stirrings of possibility. Not erasure, but emergence. Back at the house, the silence was suffocating. Lydia and Marcus argued in hushed tones, her apologies clashing against his regret. I did it for him, she insisted, tears carving paths through her makeup. But I see now it was for me. My own fears projected. Marcus sighed, sinking onto the couch. He's my boy, LYD. Gay or not, he's mine. And I've failed him by not saying it sooner. By dawn, Marcus was at the door of the bookstore, where Caden had called in sick but showed up anyway, shelving romance novels with mechanical precision. Caden, Marcus said, voice rough from a sleepless night. We need to talk. For real. In the back room, amid stacks of paperbacks smelling of ink and dust, father and son faced each other. Marcus pulled out a chair, gesturing for Caden to sit. Your mom, she knew about you, before, said you had a heart big enough for the whole damn ocean. I should have listened more. Caden's throat tightened. I was scared you'd think less of me. After her, everything felt fragile. Marcus reached across, clasping his son's hand, calluses meeting smooth skin. Never. You're my legacy, kid. And Lydia, she's sorry. Messed up, but sorry. Give us a chance to fix it. The path to healing was jagged, lined with therapy sessions in Portland, family counseling where words unearthed like driftwood. Lydia dismantled every camera in the house, burned the footage, and volunteered at the local Pride Center, channeling her misstep into advocacy. Tessa, surprisingly, became Caden's ally, dragging him to queer youth meetups, her pink hair a beacon in the crowd. Riley and Caden's love deepened, a slow burn against the coastal chill, first dates at the Goonies' house, picnics on the beach with thermoses of hot cider, whispered promises under starlit skies. There were setbacks. A homophobic slur from a classmate, Marcus's awkward attempts at allyship that landed flat. But in the quiet moments, like when Marcus hung a rainbow flag in the workshop window or Lydia baked rainbow cupcakes for Caden's 18th birthday, the fractures mended. Spring arrived in Astoria with tentative blooms along the riverbanks, the fog lifting to reveal horizons vast and forgiving. Caden stood on the pier, Riley's hand in his, the ocean's rhythm a steady heartbeat. Behind them, the Victorian house gleamed with fresh paint, soft blues and greens, Lydia's touch, and laughter echoed from its open windows. Marcus grilled salmon on the deck, Tessa blasting indie playlists, the family woven anew from threads of forgiveness. In the end, it wasn't perfection, but presence. The courage to see each other fully, flaws and all. Caden glanced back at the house, his mother's photo now joined by one of them all, smiling whole. The hidden camera had exposed a wound, but in its revelation, it had carved space for light. And in that space, love of all kinds finally breathed free.